farm, or riding after some stray beast, or away by the seaside below Glenthorne, wondering at the great waters, and resolving to go for a sailor. For in those days I had a firm belief, as many other strong boys have, of being born for a seaman. And indeed I had been in a boat nearly twice, but the second time mother found it out, and came and drew me back again, and after that she cried so badly, that I was forced to give my word to her to go no more without telling her. But Betty Muxworthy spoke her mind quite in a different way about it, the while she was wringing my hosen and clattering to the drying horse. "Zailor is fey, and zarven right. Er can't kape out o' the water here, where a must go vor to Vanden, and zame as a girt to ed squallopin, and mucks up till I be wore out, I be, with the very sate is breeches. How will un ever bade aboard ship, with the water zinging out under un, and coming up splash when the wind blow? Lotten go, missus, lotten go, say I, for wan, and old Davy wash his clouts for un." And this discourse of Betty's tended more than my mother's prayers, I fear, to keep me from going. For I hated Betty in those days, as children always hate a cross servant, and often get fond of a false one. But Betty, like many active women, was false by her crossness only, thinking it just for the moment perhaps, and rushing away with a bucket, ready to stick to it like a clenched nail if beaten the wrong way with argument, but melting over it, if you left her, as stinging soap, left along in a basin, spreads all abroad without bubbling. But all this is beyond the children, and beyond me too for that matter, even now in ripe experience. For I never did know what women mean, and never shall except when they tell me, if that be in their power. Now let that question pass. For although I am now in a place of some authority, I have observed that no one ever listens to me when I attempt to lay down the law, but all are waiting with open ears until I do enforce it. And so methinks he who reads a history cares not much for the wisdom or folly of the writer, knowing well that the former is far less than his own, and the latter vastly greater, but hurries to know what the people did, and how they got on about it. And this I can tell, if any one can, having been myself in the thick of it. The fright I had taken that night in Glen Doone satisfied me for a long time thereafter, and I took good care not to venture even in the fields and woods of the outer farm, without John Fry for company. John was greatly surprised and pleased at the value I now set upon him, until, what betwixt the desire to vaunt and the longing to talk things over, I gradually laid bare to him nearly all that had befallen me, except, indeed, about Lorna, whom a sort of shame kept me from mentioning. Not that I did not think of her, and wish very often to see her again; but of course I was only a boy as yet, and therefore inclined to despise young girls, as being unable to do anything, and only meant to listen to orders. And when I got along with the other boys, that was how we always spoke of them, if we deigned to speak at all, as beings of a lower order, only good enough to run errands for us, and to nurse boy babies. And yet my sister Annie was in truth a great deal more to me than all the boys of the parish, and of Brendon and Countisbury put together; although at the time I never dreamed it, and would have laughed if told so. Annie was of pleasing face, and very gentle manner, almost like a lady, some people said, but without any airs whatever, only trying to give satisfaction. And if she failed, she would go and weep, without letting any one know it, believing the fault to be all her own, when mostly it was of others. But if she succeeded in pleasing you, it was beautiful to see her smile, and stroke her soft chin in a way of her own, which she always used when taking note how to do the right thing again for you. And then her cheeks had a bright clear pink, and her eyes were as blue as the sky in spring, and she stood as upright as a young apple tree, and no one could help but smile at her, and pat her brown curls approvingly, whereupon she always curtsied. For she never tried to look away when honest people gazed at her, and even in the courtyard she would come and help to take your saddle, and tell, without you asking her, what there was for dinner. And afterwards she grew up to be a very comely maiden, tall and with a well built neck, and very fair white shoulders under a bright cloud of curling hair. Alas, poor Annie, like most of the gentle maidens, but tush, I am not come to that yet. And for the present she seemed to me little to look at, after the beauty of Lorna Doone. End of chapter 9. Recording by Michelle Harris.